Hetep. This is Ursama Ra, Setepin Ra, Ramesu, Mariamu, signing on. Unk Uja Seneb, Hetep to all my Khemet family that's joining us today. There's a few things that I would like to touch on. First, I would like to touch on the ram and the goat. The ram and the goat. The ram and the goat. Okay? And this is a very important topic because a lot of people out there who don't understand Kemetic culture, Kemetic concepts, Kemetic teachings, they tend to associate Kemet with devil worship, Satanism, and all those type of things. They try to associate the goat with ancient Kemetic tradition. I want everybody to know this, right? I want everybody to get an understanding on this. Kemet has nothing to do with Baphomet. It has nothing to do with Baphomet. Ancient Kemet has nothing to do with Baphomet. The Baphomet has everything to do with ancient Kemet, though. You see, because like the many religions in the world, like the many religions, you can go. I mean, you can name them: Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Gnostic Christianity. I mean, any religion, Buddhism, they all stole a part of Kemetic mythology, Kemetic traditional concepts. They stole it and they watered it down to give themselves power. That's what they did because, see, what you got to know about ancient Kemet. Ancient Kemet was a very, very powerful place. Very powerful. The surrounding countries, when they viewed Kemet, they said that they were some of the most spiritual people on the planet. The Khemet, yes, the ancient Khemet were some of the most spiritual people on the planet. So with that being said, let's get back to the Baphomet. The Baphomet is nothing but a watered down version of the ram who was sacred to Amun-Ra, the great spirit behind all things, an aspect of the one God, the great God, indeed. So the Greeks were in Kemet. They knew about the ram. So they said, what can we do? Not to be exactly like the Khemet, but to do something similar. And they chose a similar animal, which is a goat. That's kind of similar to a ram, but they are not the same animal. You can do your research. Do your deep research. They're not the same animal. So the Greeks basically stole something and put their own twist to it. And now today, that same goat became the Baphomet. But at one point, the goat was called Pan. Do your research. Pan, P-A-N, the Greek god. Okay, you're going to see a man that is half goat with horns. Okay, Pan was the name of the Baphomet before it became the Baphomet. Pan. It all comes from Greek mythology. You see? That's what it all comes from. And Pan was the god of nature, basically worldly things. Forests and, nature, worldly things. That's what Pan represented. Also, it was called the goat of Mendez. And we're going to get back to that, the devil and the Baphomet connection. We're going to get back to how that happened. But anyway, it was called the Goat of Mendez, the Baphomet at one point. Do your research on that. The Goat of Mendez. Mendez was a city in ancient Kemet. Well, the Greeks called it Mendez. There was a city in ancient Kemet that the Greeks called Mendez. Yes, indeed. And in that city, the animal, which was the ram that was sacred to Amun-Ra, was the city mascot, pretty much. That city gave divine honor to the ram, representing Amun-Ra, or Amun-Ra, you see. So, then that ram became the goat of Mendez because of the Greeks. Because of the Greeks. There was a Greco-Roman period in ancient Kemet where the Greeks invaded, where the Romans invaded. And during these time periods, a lot of things were stolen because the Greeks were in Kemet for a long time. They were in Kemet for a long time. So a lot of these symbols were stolen and remixed and given back to us. And everybody give them power. Everybody gives them power. The goat of Mendez, before it was the Baphomet. Then, as time went on, Pan, the goat of Mendez, became the Baphomet. The Baphomet. But I want y'all to know this. In them cities in Kemet, they didn't give divine honor to no goat. We wasn't giving praise to a goat. We weren't doing that. That was not the representation of Amun. The ram was. But like I said, the Greeks wanted that power so badly. As everybody else, all the other empires around the world, they did as well. They all wanted a piece of the glory of the Khemetnu nation, the mighty Khemetnu nation. So Pan, the Greek god, the goat man, Pan, remember what I said earlier, Pan represents worldly nature. That's temporal things. That's manifest. That's what Pan represents. And if you notice, Set, the ego, which is a representation of the ego, Set, the ego that dwells in every human being, that must be put under control so that it can become a servant to the higher self. The ego is something of the world. The ego, represented by Set, is something of the world. That's why Set was so in love with the world. He wanted to be the king. He wanted everything. He wanted it all. In the Khemetnu stories, he wanted it all. He was attached to worldly things. Set represents Satan in Kemetic culture. Set and Satan are equivalent. You see, they are equivalent. That's where they got Satan. 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 When the sun sets, the world goes into darkness. Set represented darkness. What do they call Lucifer? The prince of darkness. See the correlation? Now, Pan represented worldly things. Set represented worldly things. Set was in love with the world. So you see the correlation. You see the correlation there. Ignorance and evil is a worldly thing. It's a worldly thing. So you see the correlation between Set and Pan, the goat, which became the Baphomet, which is associated with worldly things, like Set or Satan. How do you think the Church of Satan, adopted the symbol? Why do you think they adopted it? Old symbols carry a certain energy. All symbols carry a certain energy. When people give honor to the symbols, when people talk about the symbols, when people are always looking at the symbols, these symbols hold power. So the goat of Mendez, or Pan, has been around for a long time. So that's why the Church of Satan decided to adopt the Baphomet as a symbol. And all the people that practice this so-called witchcraft and all these different things that come from Europeans. Not to get off subject, but a Khemet is not a witch. A Khemet is not a warlock. A Khemet is not a sorcerer. We have nothing to do with those things. So anybody out there that's wearing an Ankh, a Wajidai, and you call yourself representing the ancestors, just know this. They never called themselves witches. They never called themselves warlocks. They never called themselves sorcerers. They never called themselves any of those things. So if you are wearing the symbols of the ancient ancestors and you walk around calling yourself any of those things, you are dishonoring your ancestors. Because that comes from the European perspective, which is warlocks, all those type of things. That's spookery. So, with that being said, you can see how the Baphomet got its influence from Khemet and its power. It was a stolen symbol. The ram got changed to the goat. The Greeks wanted their own glory. The Greeks wanted things similar to the Khemet. Peter Pan. Peter Pan. The little child that runs around in the forest, or a grown man, or whatever he is, runs around in the forest playing a flute, playing with animals. You see? Pan. Pan, the Greek god, and Peter Pan. They're the same person, same energy. But they never tell parents the deeper meaning behind some of these films. But anyway, I just want everybody to understand this. Everybody out there, all the people on YouTube, or all the priests around the world that say Khemet is the devil. They practice idol worship. They practice bestiality. They practice incest. You don't know Khemet culture. You don't understand Khemet culture. You don't live Khemet culture. So therefore, you wouldn't understand it. You don't understand how a Khemet thinks. You don't understand. The first writings about God came out of Khemet. The first writings about God came out of Khemet. The first writings were on papyrus. There were no other writings before papyrus. Papyrus originated in Khemet. The first writings found in the world were from ancient Khemet. first manuscripts. And the Khemet knew we come from Ethiopia. We are descendants of the Ethiopian Empire. That's what Kemet and Nubia is. Okay? The only thing that predates Kemet is Ethiopia. But a lot of the temples and things and the writings were destroyed. A lot of things in Ethiopia were destroyed. A lot of things. We Kemetnu come from the Anu people, the children of the sun. You see? So all you people out there that say that Kemetnu are devil worshippers and that we give honor to the devil, you're wrong. We're not into devil worship. You don't understand Kemetnu culture. And another thing people don't get is God and Satan are the same spirit. The same spirit that gave you free will to choose. Either you can attach yourself to God's lower nature or you can attach yourself to God's higher nature. Now, if you decide to attach yourself to God's lower nature, there's consequences with that. The Great Spirit tells you that in all the writings, even in the Bible. Yeah, the Bible got a little truth to it. It got some truth to it. It does. There's things in there that are true, and there's things in there that I don't agree with, but I don't bash it. Because I understand that God created all things. God created all things. All things. And one thing about Ramesu Meriamun, I'm a warrior of Ma'at. I'm a warrior of Afro-Rukin Kemetnu power. I am Ramesu incarnated. That's me. That's the spirit. That's the energy I carry. That's the energy I carry. I'm a warrior of Ma'at, righteousness, truth, justice, harmony. That's what Ma'at represents. What person out there that's a person of God that don't agree with that? You don't agree with justice, truth, righteousness, harmony? You don't agree with that? Then you're not a man of God. That's what Ma'at stands for. Ma'at stands for the things I just said. So again, before you call Egypt evil or Kemet evil, before you say Azar, which you call Osiris, you don't even say his name correctly. You call him Osiris because you're doing things from a Greek perspective. You've been brainwashed. You follow the zodiac. You follow these Greek months, these Greek years, these Greek days of the week. You're in a sorority. You're in the Greek sorority. Yeah, you're Greek. So you can't understand Kemetnu culture. You're calling a set Isis. A Kemetnu does not refer to a set as Isis, unless for teaching purposes. Because sometimes that's all people understand is the Greek names. Everybody's not familiar with the Kemetnu names of the different attributes of the one God. Yes, God manifests into many different things. All good things. And even the things on the lower nature. But like I said, it's consequences to that. When you choose to take the lower nature, you're subjecting yourself to hellish conditions and a hellish experience when you go to the duat, the spirit realm, when you leave this planet. That's another video. But with that being said, this ram and this goat thing, it's no need to talk about it anymore. There's no need to talk about it anymore. The goat, the goat has everything to do with Khemet. But Khemet doesn't have nothing to do with the goat. Khemet has nothing to do with the goat, with the Baphomet. That is a weak symbol compared to the ram, sacred of Amun, the great spirit. That's a weak symbol. Those things are weak. Witchcraft is weak compared to the power of a Khemetnu. Witchcraft is weak. Witchcraft is weak compared to Heka. It's weak. We don't practice witchcraft. Again. So with that being said, all my people out there have a glorious, glorious day. And to all the people that's Kemet bashing, y'all stop getting involved in things you don't understand. Talk about the things you do understand. Talk about what you understand. Don't talk about what you don't understand. I don't want to hear about nothing that the TV said, because the TV is the television. So I don't want to hear about what the TV said and what these Hollywood documentaries say about Kemet. They don't understand Kemet culture. They whitewashing Kemet right now. They're making it as though all the Kemet were European. But that's a whole nother video again. This is Ursa Ma'at Ra, Satepin Ra, Ramesu Mariamin. And I'm out of here. You all have a glorious, glorious day. Ma'at Hetep.